The calls are back on. I'm going to take Jake again. Starman, please wait patiently. We will get to you. Jake, can you hear us now?
Yes, sir.
Good, thank you. Thank you for being patient, and I'm sorry about those technical issues. What is it you'd like to talk to us about?
Yes, I'm a former Catholic, and right now, like, there are times I'm trying to figure out, like, where my place is of, like, what I am, if I believe. Like, I've tried to, like, convince myself if I'm an atheist, or I kind of, like, teeter between atheists and agnosticism and deism. But I believe, I'd say I do believe in the existence of a creator that created everything, you know, all the universe and all life and everything. But I don't believe in, I don't believe in any religion. I'm against religion. I don't believe in the Bible. I don't believe in an afterlife, like heaven or hell. I don't believe in Satan. But part of me just can't, really get over that. I see intelligent design in everything, in like the universe and life, the human body, and just everything, that I just can't accept the fact that it all just happened by chance. I do. I see a design, an intelligent mind, the creator created all of it. And
there's a couple of things there, Chief, that I wanted to just step in on. First of all, chance. It doesn't necessarily have to have been by chance. It may be that because of the fundamental forces and laws of the universe, this is the only way that reality can be, given the way things are. Now, you might then say, well, who set those parameters? Again, they don't have to have been set by any thinking agent to make those things. And when you say intelligent design, there's plenty of stuff that I could point to just in the human body that is terribly designed. And not just because mine are broken, but the eyes, why are the lenses put that way so that the picture's inverted and our brains have to interpret it? Why are the rods and cones behind the blood vessels? That's not the same in every creature. Why does why do we have a nerve that goes all the way down from our head all the way down to the heart and back up again? There's lots of stuff about the body that, if someone was actually designing it, would go, yeah, that's not efficient. Let's change that. Let's make it better. Why does the thing that gives us life also kill us? Why does the sun give us cancer? So many examples I could bring that really don't look intelligent to me. And if there was an intelligence behind it, then it's a malevolent one at that. So that's my piece. What about you, Richard?
Yeah,
Jake, please respond to Jamie, and then I'll jump in.
I know what you're saying. But let's say it was like the human body, or just any form of life, but especially saying human beings. It was the design is terrible. Like on a car. Stuff starts to go wrong with the car after a while, but it was poorly designed, but it was still designed by something.
But we're talking about, presumably, we're talking about something, a creature or an intelligence that has, and I don't know what your opinion is about the kind of faculties of this intelligence, but presumably it's a great intelligence and a great designer. Certainly that's the belief of most people who believe in an intelligent designer, that it is a supreme designer. And if we had the ability to design, let's say, a car, and design it supremely so it didn't go wrong, and we could do that, there seems to be only two options. Either that designer doesn't exist because we don't see that in creation, in humans or in animals or in nature, or that designer purposefully designed those things with a flaw. In which case, we then start having to question why that creator did that. So I think, this is a very important point to look at. And also, I want to kind of piggyback on Jamie's when he said, why chance? Because I hear this again a lot from people, or it's either this or it's chance. I don't think anything is chance in the universe. Things are the way they are because of pressures, environmental pressures, and certainly on the earth. And things are the way they are in the universe because that's how things came into motion. It wasn't a chance. It wasn't a roll of a dice. It was the way it is. And unfortunately, we don't have a second universe or a third universe or a set of universes to kind of compare it against, to say, well, this was chance, this one was chance, this one was design. We don't have that. All we have is the data set of one to work from. So I don't think, for me, chance is not something that is the case.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like that's like kind of like where like the deist part of me comes in, like this creator, like whatever it is, whoever it is, like set it all into motion and just like step back and let it take its natural cause, take its natural course and everything, and doesn't intervene with human life and human affairs and everything. And
so,
just like someone gets sick.
Jake, are you familiar with the concept of the God of the gaps, where people, instead of saying, I don't know, which is what we say, and someone says, well, where does the universe come from? How did it all start? I don't know. They say God. They put God into places where there's a current lack of knowledge, and it's been that way time immemorial. So many things that were unexplained were given to God. The weather, illnesses, all kinds of stuff. But every single time we've discovered what's actually causing it, it's never, ever been God. So that's one thing. And the other thing I want to ask you, Jake, and I don't want to be rude here, why do you want there to be a God? Do you want there to be a God?
Well, I would say that it gives me, like I said, I don't believe like in an afterlife really, but I'm not saying that it's it's not out of the realm of possibility. But like I said, I don't believe in heaven or hell or Satan or anything. Maybe reincarnation, but I don't know. But like I think like why most people do it, like they say they believe in a God. It's like, okay, let's say really is a God that created everything. Why would that God really care if we worship it or not, or believe in him or not? But it still like gives you some kind of comfort, some kind of crutch that we're not alone in the universe,
That's the word I was waiting to come up, comfort. And what is more important, comfort or truth?
Truth.
Okay. So many truths are uncomfortable.
Yeah, really. But if you ask me, I really don't care if there's like a God watching or whatever, because I believe if there is a God that created everything, then it's a deistic God that doesn't intervene. Obviously, I look at history and humanity and everything, and just.
So I'm going to ask one final question of you, Jake, and then because I don't want to bogart the call. Let's say that there is a deistic God. How could I tell the difference if there's no evidence of his intervention other than the seeming of design? How could I tell the difference between a universe that was deistically put into motion and one that wasn't? Is there any way?
I'd say no.
Okay. So to me, at least, the distinction is moot. And I'd rather be as intellectually honest as possible and just rather say, I don't know, rather than fill the gap. But that's my last word on that. How about you, Rich?
Yeah, Jake, you keep, throughout this call, and thank you for this call, by the way, and thank you for, the way you've interacted on it. It's been really good. You keep saying this thing, if there is a God. If there is a God. And what we're interested in. And I think, you've just said yourself, you're more interested in what is true. I think what you should be looking at yourself is, why should we think there is a God? It's all very well and good speculating, saying, well, if there is a God, he could be this way. If there is a God, he could have done that. But what reason do we have for thinking that there is a God?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier about people wanting to find some kind of like a feeling of comfort and like, a meaning to their existence, really, and just instead of thinking like, we all just came about from nothing by chance. People just want to feel a void that's filled, like, in their lives, that something higher than them, more powerful than them, created them. And if you could be a deistic God, believe in a deistic God, or believe that this God cares about you and loves you. But I think that if there really is a God that created everything, or creator, call it God, call it whatever you want, but then I believe that obviously, it is obviously a deistic God that does not intervene and doesn't really care.
But Jake, forgive me, you've just said, when in answer to that question, people might want to, or people will believe in this God because they want comfort, because they want this. But that didn't answer the question why we should believe in this God. That answers the question, why do we think that people might believe in this God? But why should we believe this God exists? Why do you believe this God exists?
Because of just everything, everything that's been created, all life, I just can't, get over and the fact, and just like try to convince myself that it all just, happened, that it was not designed, because to me, it's obvious that, the human body was designed, the earth was designed, nature, science was all designed. Like people say, like, they don't believe in God, they believe in nature. It's like, or they believe in science. Well, who created science and nature?
And does the idea that there is a possibility that all of this is as it is for no other reason than that it is, that this is just the way the universe is because it has to be, and there is no design or inherent meaning behind it, does that cause you like discomfort or even fear?
I'd say it causes me discomfort because it just shows like, I don't know. It's just like there's like it just like kind of leaves a void, feel, a big void in your life, a kind of feeling in you that you want to fill, and like a lot of people say, like, well, an atheist will say, well, if God created everything, who created God? Who designed God? But then I
wouldn't say that. I would just to be clear, I wouldn't say that. I think that's a silly thing to say, and that any atheists out there who do say that, it's a silly thing to say. Don't say that. But that's just my take. Sorry for interrupting, Jake. Carry on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's this point here, like an atheist will say they believe in evolution. But that, like, usually when they're arguing with a theist, they say, like, okay, you believe God created everything. Well, who designed God? Who created God? And it's like, well, maybe he just, he, she, it, or they, whatever it is, just came from nothing, just evolved, just like they believe the earth did and human and life did.
So you're getting tangled up here a bit, Jake. Sorry to interrupt you, Chief, but you are starting to sound like you're parroting talking points from the less credible parts of Christian, especially Christian apologetics, like that we believe that everything came from nothing. We don't. We believe that everything happened by chance. We don't. Well, some might. Atheism is not a monolith. Atheism is one answer to one question, which is, do you believe that a God or gods exist? And the answer is no. There's different reasons to be an atheist. There's different ways to approach it. There's good and bad ways to approach it as well. But I would recommend you stop building straw men. of atheists and do what you've done today, which is very brave of you, which is come on to a show and talk to some. And feel free to join our Discord and stuff and really get into the weeds on it. Because if you truly believe that truth is more important than comfort, then it would behoove you to try and set your thinking to try and achieve that goal. Now, all of us are susceptible to some magical thinking or irrationality. It's just the way we are. And humans are naturally curious creatures. We want to know everything of all the things. But unfortunately, we're also pattern matching creatures. So if we can't know, we'll make shit up. And so you want to try and train yourself. And it does sometimes take a little bit of actual introspection and training to avoid that instinct of I don't know what's happening, so I'm just going to imagine what I think is going on. And I think that's a better way of going about thinking in general, not just about God.
Jake, just out of curiosity, Jake, why do you think that atheists think that the universe and evolution or life comes from nothing?
Well, I don't believe all atheists think that, but it just seems like whenever I talk with someone who's an atheist, or I see these debates on YouTube and stuff and on this show and stuff, it just seems like they theist says they believe in a creator, but it just seems like the atheist always just settles with, goes back saying, I don't know, or, it just evolution, it's just natural selection or whatever.
But admitting that you don't know something, because what we do is we follow evidence for things like the Big Bang Theory or abiogenesis, things like that, which is what we're actually kind of talking about when talking about creation of life, not evolution. That comes later. But what we're doing is we're following the evidence, and when we get to a certain point where we don't know, where the evidence cannot show us anymore, where we don't have an answer, the intellectually honest thing to do is to say, I don't know. That's not the same as saying we think it comes from nothing. That is making a statement about where you think it comes from. That would require evidence. But that's not what we're doing. What we're doing when we say we don't know is saying we followed this as far as the evidence leads. We don't have an answer beyond that. So instead of filling those gaps that we have in our knowledge with things like God, we're just going to be intellectually honest and say, we don't know the answer to that. Do you not think that's a much better thing to do than inserting an answer that we have no evidence for?
Yes, I live. I'm anti-religious. I live my life like there's no God. I live my life according to my will and my obedience. I don't believe that a higher power really cares how I live my life. If there is a higher power, or a creator, I do. Part of me does believe that in a creator, but like I said, the deistic part of me that comes in and realize that this doesn't really care if I believe in him or worship him or not. Whatever they are, he or whatever. But I do believe that there was somehow some kind of creation from an intelligent mind.
Again, sorry to jump in, Jake, and you've made it very clear that you still have this belief that you carry. But that's the reason why I expanded the scope of my talking about rational thinking to outside of the religious scope, because believing something without evidence will get you in trouble for lots of different reasons, even if it's not about a god. If you get a really convincing email that tells you that you've won a prize and you click that link, sans evidence that it's actually real, oh no, now you've got malware. So there's plenty of other places in your life where you probably don't just believe things on evidence because it would be nice if it were true. So all I would implore you is to take that proper sort of approach to to belief, like withhold it until such time as it's evidenced, and just use it everywhere, including your belief in God. And just to give you an example of how my thinking as an atheist changed to become more intellectually honest, when I was but a wee babby atheist, waving my hands around and going, grr, God bad, I used to say God doesn't exist. And then I realised that I can't prove that. So I stopped because it was not honest. So now I honestly say I don't believe he exists, but I don't know. And that's what being an agnostic atheist is about.
Okay, yeah. But going back to like the atheist or agnostic, deist or whatever terminology, just by definition, like atheism just means like lacking a belief in the existence of a creator, right?
Oh, God or gods, they don't necessarily have to be a creator.
And I kind of disagree with that, but everybody has different opinions on that. So, I think there are, you can use atheism as a positive claim as well, but that's in a more kind of strictly philosophical sense. In general, just having these conversations, saying I lack a belief is sufficient for many of these conversations.
Yes. By definition, like then agnosticism is not knowing. But like by definition, if someone says they're like an agnostic, then really they're just like Dawkins says, watered down, atheism. Are by definition, are they an atheist because they're lacking the belief in a God?
Well, in common parlance, at least around the circles that we run in, atheism and agnosticism are two different things. One's about knowledge and one's about belief. Theism and atheism, do you believe or not? Gnosticism, agnosticism, do you know or not? And so most honest people, when it comes to the idea of God, be you atheist or theist, would be agnostic. I believe there's a God, but I don't know, not for certain. Or I don't believe there's a God, but I don't know, not for certain. I don't trust people who say they know that there is definitely not. I have trouble trusting people who say, I definitely know there's a God. And I even have trouble trusting people saying, I definitely know there isn't one. If you can evidence it to me or logically prove, there's certain God concepts that I think are probably very unlikely. But it's a bit sticky when you start making truth claims like that.
I'm glad you said that because I was just about to interject and say I think I can demonstrate certain God concepts don't exist.
Take it on a God by God basis. Yeah, God by God basis, yeah.
Thanks, guys, for taking my call. I've been listening to the show for like 10 years now.
Wow.
Absolutely, Jake, and thank you for listening, and thank you for your support, and thank you for calling. It's a really good question. One thing I would implore you to do, Jake, is go back and listen to the call when the show's over. Don't listen to it until the show's over because there's more show to come. But go and listen to it when the show's over, and let's have that conversation with yourself and ask yourself, really, what is it in my responses that are answering the question, I believe God because, and is that because justified? And really have a look at that and have that conversation with yourself, and feel free to give us a call back. I'm going to let you go, Jake. Thank you very much for the call.